It's time for us to cash in on UFC 317. In this video, I'm going to give you 3 of my best bets. I got a money line bet for you, I got a round prop bet, and I got a big plus money prop bet. In addition, I'm going to show you every single one of my DFS plays, which if you're a returning viewer to the channel, you know you always want to tail those. And if you did tail last week, we cashed in nicely. I will also show you where you can get every single one of my bets on UFC 317 completely free. These are just 3 bets that I have that I'm going to share with you, but there are many other bets that you can unlock, and I'll show you how to unlock those for free later in the video. But before we get into the bets for this week, I always like to be transparent, so we got to recap how last week's best bets show went. Bogdan Grab money line. It was a nice dog shot. It was a close fight. I didn't watch early on in the fight, but I caught the end of the fight, and it looked like it was a really close fight, and we lose a half unit. Plus 230 underdog. I thought it looked more like Naimov minus 150, minus 160. But either way, we lose the bet. So we lose 0.5 units. We lost the parlay. Terrible bet on Oban Elliott. Don't know what he was doing. Great bet on Make the Beck oral buy. But ultimately, a great bet and a terrible bet do not mix well together for a parlay. So we lost a unit on the parlay there. But we did hit our biggest play of the night, which was the fight to end by KO. Sajikov versus Mota. You could have been a little bit more greedy and took Sajikov by KO at what, plus 125, something like that. You saw in the first round why I didn't. Okay, Nicholas Mota almost had this dude knocked out, but Sajikov is ultra durable, and he came through for us and got the knockout in rounds 2. So, 2-unit play there at minus 130, cash us in for 1.54 units. So overall, we were positive 0.04 units. I hate going 1 and 2 because rarely are you ever gonna make a significant amount of money. One of these weeks we're gonna sweep. Overall, we're minus 5.36 units in 2025 on those 3 bets that I give you every single week. But the DFS last week absolutely cooked. 5.21 units in net profit. We hit 3 out of the 4 slips. The only one that did not hit was Oban Elliott. Brutal there, and unfortunately, we were off by 1 play on the 5-pick entry on Underdog. And also off by 1 play on the 8-pick entry on Betr picks, which would have paid us out over 100x. So unfortunate there that we didn't hit those big slips, but we still made 5.21 units in net profit on the DFS. Stay tuned for that throughout the show, and I'll let you know how you can score in on those. But I think we also get you a bet here. All right, I'm on hour 64 of my 72-hour water fast. So my mind is a little bit blurred right now. But what I can tell you is Josh Van is going to win this fight. All right. He is going to put a pace on Brandon Royval. And Brandon Royval, he might be the more experienced guy at the top. But this is a lower weight class. This is the flyweight division. We just saw last week in the heavyweight division, Rizvan Kuniev go in there against Curtis Blades and arguably win. I thought he should have won, but you look at the heavyweights and the flyweights, those divisions are not very deep. So for a guy to move up very quickly in the rankings, to me, isn't anything out of the realm. And Josh Van, he's been very active. He's fought on 4 straight pay-per-views. This is going to be his 5th straight pay-per-view card in a row. And his last fight was earlier in the month of June. So 2nd fight of the month of June for Josh Van. And honestly, I mean, you look at his fight against Bruno Silva, it's not like he took a lot of damage. It wasn't like he had a lot of adversity to overcome. Pretty much just ran through the guy. And I think Josh Van comes in here and does similar things to Brandon Royval. I'm not saying Brandon Royval is a terrible fighter. I respect Brandon Royval. The guy creates chaos in there. He thrives in the chaos, but he has to be somewhat dictating the pace. And I don't know that he's going to be able to dictate the pace against Josh Van because Josh Van is always in control of that pace. And I expect Josh Van to hit Brandon Royval many, many times. And Brandon Royval is coming off a almost career-ending concussion. That's not a great look to me. I know Brandon Royval is not really much of an offensive wrestler, and that's probably the path that he would look to take to stamp himself and get this victory. But Josh Van's improving at a rapid pace. He's getting all this cage time against really solid competition. Cody Durden, solid. Bruno Silva, solid. Ray Cerrulla, young, nasty grappler, solid. I think Joshua Van gets this one done. Minus 115. I got 2 units on it. There's your money line bet for the week. We'll go to the Underdog Fantasy Plays. If you're in one of these highlighted states, you're going to download the Underdog Fantasy app or the Underdog app. Use code HeyJive. Get your deposit bonus up to $1,000. We almost hit the 5-legger last week. Unfortunately, we didn't. But we have hit 2 this year so far, and we're positive 95.71 or 78 units since 2024. On 2 pick entries alone, not even including the 20 extras and the 100 extras that we've hit on Underdog and Betr picks. So let's take a look at the plays. But before we do that, I got to let you know, if you're watching on a TV or a monitor, you can whip out your phone right now, scan that QR code to download Underdog if you don't have it yet. And this week, if you're a new user, you're going to get Ilia Topuria gimme pick, 0.0 significant strike. So he just needs to land 1 significant strike in the main event, and you win. This is also going to be available for anybody that has used my code HeyJive in the past. So you're going to get a free gimme pick on Underdog. Underdog is hooking us up with a nice little free pick on Ilia Topuria just to land 1 significant strike in the main event to get a win. If you are watching on TV or a monitor or whatever, scan that QR code, download Underdog, and lock these plays in. Let's take a look at the 5-legger. Alvin Hines, lower than 19.5 significant strikes. I don't know that he wants to stand with Jonathan Deniz, and if he does, he's probably going to get knocked out. Alvin Hines is a pretty slow guy. Probably going to be looking for some takedowns. If he does, he's not going to be landing a lot of significant strikes, and I expect Alvin Hines to get KO'd here in the first round. So, Alvin Hines, lower than 19.5 significant strikes. I like that. Hyder Emil, higher than 62.5 significant strikes. Both guys have never been finished. I am kind of expecting a 15-minute war. I believe both guys are durable enough to take the shots from the other guys. We're talking about featherweights here. I mean, it's not like these are huge, massive power punchers. It's going to be dangerous. You're probably going to be, clenching your cheeks a little bit. But both guys are pretty high volume. Hyder Emil, very, very high volume. Wants to push the pace. Kind of like a Joshua Van type of pace and pressure. He's always going to be the one that's walking forward, throwing, and he'll eat what's coming back at you. And I expect if this fight does go 15 minutes, he's going to get north of 80, maybe 90, maybe even 100 significant strikes. Even if it goes into, the third round, he could easily be over 62.5 in my opinion. So I like the Hyder Emil. Higher than 62.5 there. I'm going to take Jack Hermansson, 54.5, higher than 54.5 because Gregory Rodriguez is very hittable. Jack Hermansson throws a lot of kicks, throws a lot of volume, lands over 5 significant strikes per minute. Gregory Rodriguez, I don't believe is going to be able to mix in some grappling, whether he wants to or not. So I think this is going to be a striking battle. And I don't really think Gregory's going to knock him out in round 1. I don't think he's going to knock him out in round 2. I can see this fight going to a decision. It's actually favored to go to a decision very slightly. And if it does go to a decision, I think Jack Hermansson is going to get 65, 70 plus significant strikes here. So I like Jack Hermansson higher than 54.5. Renato Moicano, lower than 42.5. There is some pretty hefty historical data when it comes to Renato Moicano, lower than 52.5 significant strikes. I believe, off the top of my head, he's hit this in 11 of his last 13 fights where he's gone lower than 42.5 significant strikes. And one of those, I think, was a 5-rounder against RDA. So it might be even better than that. Not a very high-volume striker, wants to get the fight to the ground. And Beneil Dariush is not a guy that absorbs a ton of significant strikes. So lower than 42.5 for Renato Moicano. And then lastly, Kai Kara-France, higher than 59.5 significant strikes. Pantoja going to a lot of these decisions, which is understandable. I mean, you're getting to the highest level. You're fighting the best guys. But he's also getting hit a lot. Steve Ursay got over this. Brandon Royval got over this. Brandon Moreno got over this. The only guy that didn't get over this was Kai Asakura, and he got subbed in the second round. I don't think Kai Kara-France is going to get subbed in the second round. I think this fight could easily go to a decision. We got 5 rounds to work here. 59.5 just looks way too low for me. And I like the higher on Kai Kara-France at 59.5. There's your 5-pick entry on Underdog to win 20x. 2-pick entry right here. Moicano lower than 42.5. Charles Oliveira higher than 29.5. You look at Ilia Topuria's last 4 opponents. Bryce Mitchell got 36. Josh Emmett went over. I don't know exactly how many he got off the top of my head. But Volk also got over. I think he got 40-something, and that fight ended in the second round. Max Holloway landed over 70-some significant strikes that went into the third round. I think Charles Oliveira's size and length is going to allow him to land a lot of kicks early, and both guys are going to have to respect each other's danger on the feet. So I don't think these guys are just going to go in there swinging wild. I really don't. And Charles Oliveira should be able to land kicks, knees I don't want to say at will, but he should be able to land them to where he's not in super big trouble. If he's going to stand in the pocket, then sure, he could definitely get knocked out in round 1. But I see this fight going into round 2, maybe into round 3. And Charles Oliveira at 29.5 is just too low. So I like the higher there. That's a 3x payout on Underdog. Once again, download the Underdog app right there. You can scan the QR code. Oh, there's a link down in the description below. Use code HeyJive. Get your deposit bonus up to $1,000. Get the Topuria gimme pick just to land one significant strike in the main event, and it's a free win. Then we'll move on to a play I have locked in. I did lock in. Sleeper picks. Normally, we just do the Underdog and the better picks, but sleeper picks had their lines out there early on in the week, so we have another spot where we can get the best lines and the best payouts. Right here, 3.16x payout compared to Underdog, which was just a 3x payout. It was the same line, so I locked it in on Sleeper. We're getting more money, more bang for our buck. The play here is Jack Hermanson, higher than 54.5 significant strikes, and paired up with Kai Kara-France, higher than 59.5 significant strikes. I gave my explanation for both of those, but this play was locked in on Sleeper. They're giving you a 3.16x payout on 2-pick entries. So if you're in one of these light purple states, Sleeper picks is available to you. Use code HeyJive, get your deposit bonus up to $100, and lock this play in and keep this tool in your arsenal, because that 0.16x or that 0.16 difference compared to Underdog is going to allow you to stack up more wins and stack up more profit over the long term, and that's what we're looking to do. So Sleeper picks, link down in the description below to add it to your arsenal if you haven't already, or if you do have it, make sure you lock in there to get a better payout on Sleeper. And you can also add Chalkboard as well to your arsenal. Normally, they don't have lines till later in the week, but if you're one of these people that just watches later in the week, then it's probably up for you right now. But Chalkboard available in those green states as well. Code HeyJive, deposit bonus up to $100. Link down in the description below. We'll get into the round prop bet. We're taking the under 1.5 rounds in the Denise versus Alvin Hines fight. I've already alluded to it. I believe Denise is probably going to knock him out in round 1. But I also got to give a little bit of upside to Alvin Hines of getting a finish if he gets the fight to the ground. So at plus 110 odds, that's what I got it. I believe it's on Monday or Tuesday. I think it's at like minus 110 right now. I still think that's good. You know, I don't really see this fight going past 7.5 minutes. If it does, then it's going to turn into a pretty sloppy, greasy, heavyweight fight that probably could go to a decision, but I'm getting plus money on the fight to not go 7.5 minutes, which is going to be when these guys are most dangerous. So I like that there. I'm putting 1 unit on it. I think Denise is going to be able to chop him with low kicks, get him off balance, land some big shots upstairs. Alvin Hines just a little bit too slow for his striking compared to Denise. But if Hines does get on top, you know, we've seen Austin Lane nearly TKO Denise when he was in mount. We've seen Tybura do some dirty things to him when he was in mount. So it is a possibility, but I'm more leaning towards Denise getting him out of there in round 1. Under 1.5, plus 110. There's your round prop bet for the week. Now, if you want all the bets, you're going to jump in the Home of 5 Picks Winnable. Use code 317 to get you a 7-day free trial. This year, we're positive 35.10 units. We were positive 5.05 units last week, so we picked up a nice little profitable card last week. Last year, we were up over 100 units, so we are back on the winning track. We had a couple losing weeks, but we had a nice 5-unit profit week last week at UFC Baku. And this year, on pay-per-views, we've won money on every single pay-per-view except for UFC 316. So we were undefeated on pay-per-views in 2025 until UFC 316. So I think we're going to get back here on the winning track for pay-per-views. Use code 317. That's where you're going to get every single one of my bets. It's on Winnable. So when you sign up, use 317. You're going to get a 7-day free trial. And when I make a play, I post it to the Winnable. You'll get a text message on your phone. You click on the link. You'll see the play. And then, boom, you can lock it in so you don't miss out on any of the lines. Link down in the description below. Home of 5 Picks premium membership on Winnable. Use code 317 for a 7-day free trial to get all the bets. Now we're going to go. My mouth is like dry from this fast. Every food that I see right now, I just want to eat. I only got a few more hours, but we're going to battle through it. The prop bet this week is going to be Peyton Talbot by decision. Y'all must have forgot what month it is. All right, this is Pride Month, the month of June. I don't know if they have Pride Month in other countries, but if you're in the U.S., you know what's Pride Month. You know what Peyton Talbot does in his free time. Well, honestly, we don't really know, but we can assume. And Peyton Talbot, I'm joking, guys. Okay, this isn't the only reason I'm taking Peyton Talbot by decision. But this fight is actually favored to go to a decision, which to me kind of makes me believe Peyton Talbot could win this fight or should be favored to win this fight if it's going to go to a decision, because Peyton Talbot has elite output, rock solid durability. This guy fought off some of the most, I don't want to say dangerous, but the sketchiest submissions you could put a guy into against Raoni Barcelos. So considering this fight is favored to go to a decision, and we're getting Peyton Talbot at plus 500 to win by decision, it seems like the line's a little bit off, and I think we're getting some solid value here. I have gone back and forth, just pure winner on who I believe this fight, or who is going to win this fight between Lima and Peyton Talbot. But I think Peyton Talbot, if this fight goes to decision, has a really good chance to get his hand raised. He's got a ton of output on the feet. You know, he does hit hard. He can land a knockdown on Felipe Lima. And when he does get taken down, you know, he does find his way back up to the feet periodically. Even against Barcelos, he fought his way back up to the feet, and he was landing some big shots, but then boom, Barcelos will be back in on the hips and getting the takedowns. And Barcelos' wrestling looked amazing in that fight. So we'll see how he can defend the takedowns against Felipe Lima, but if he's on the feet, I expect him to be winning. So I'll take Peyton Talbot by decision, plus 500, putting 0.2 units on it there. The reason I'm only going 0.2 units is, number one, it's plus 500, but I'm also kind of eyeing up a Peyton Talbot money line bet, and I didn't want to overexpose myself on a just a pure decision thing. So plus 500 on Peyton Talbot decision, 0.2 units there. That's your prop bet for the week. Shout out to the Pride Months out there. Let's go to the Betr Picks place. If you're in one of these purple states, you're going to want to download Betr Picks if you haven't already, so you can cash in the 100x just like this on UFC 314. Unfortunately, we went 7-1 on the slip last week. Otherwise, we would have cashed in another 100x payout. But use code HeyJive, get your deposit bonus with $250. Download Betr Picks, link down in the description below, and lock these plays in. The 8-pick entry this week is going to be Alvin Hines, lower than 20.5. Hyder Emil, higher than 60.5. Hermanson, higher. Moicano, lower. Viviane Araújo, lower than 50.5. Think there could be a lot of grappling there. Vivi's not a super high volume girl unless it just turns into a pure 15-minute kickboxing battle, which I don't really see. I think either girl could look to grapple here, so I like the lower on Vivi. Joshua Van, higher than 85.5. It's just been an auto bet. The guy lands 80 or 8 some significant strikes per minute. You know, every single fight that goes to round 3 or goes late into round 3, the dude lands like over 100 significant strikes. So that's always been an auto bet. I don't exactly love it this week, but I'm just going to play it. 85.5, higher for Joshua Van, higher than 60.5 for Kai Kara France, and higher than 30.5 for Charles Oliveira. So a lot of hires, which is a little bit, a little bit sketchy at times. I thought DFS was a little bit tough this week, but I do think the plays that we locked in have a good chance to win. The 2-pick entry right here for Betr Picks, Alvin Hines, lower than 20.5. We've already talked about that. Same with Hyder Emil, but we just got better lines here on Betr Picks. That's why you got to have all of these tools in your arsenal. You got to have Betr, you got to have Sleeper, you got to have Underdog, because 19.5 that we got on Underdog, we're getting 20.5 right here. We're taking the lower. We got 62.5 on Underdog, but we're getting 60.5 on Hyder Emil with Betr Picks. So 3x payout there for Betr Picks. Lock that in. Lock in the 8-legger. Hopefully we can cash them in. I believe we will. Betr Picks, link down in the description below if you're in one of these purple states. Lock them in. And lastly, I want to thank you for watching the video. Hit the like button for me, please. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to pig out tonight when I'm done with this 72-hour fast. I appreciate y'all for watching. Like the video for me. If you want to support further, ProfessorParlayShop.com to get yourself some merch. High quality. I'm not even going to give the spiel because I'm down bad. But appreciate y'all. Till next time, Hey Job Picks. We out.